Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني ويفقهوا قولي يا حي يا قيوم برحمتك أستغيث رب اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين أستغفر الله ربي من كل ذنب وأتوب إليه. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, we have discussed Juzz number 17 and 18 yesterday. I hope and believe, inshallah, we have done quite a lot of justice to that, inshallah. Quick disclaimer, I'm not a scholar by any means. I'm just trying to share the knowledge that I'm trying to learn so we can get the bounties of Ramadan together as much as we can, inshallah ta'ala. So that's the whole purpose. We can do things together, inshallah. So from quick reflection from yesterday, we have discussed Surah Al-Hajj, Surah Mu'minun, Surah Nur, and Furqan as well. Yesterday we discussed all these surahs. We learned that Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, and when the Hajj was made obligatory to us by Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam. So since then we are observing Hajj as an obligation to us. We discussed and learned the creation of a human being, Islam. We learned there is a sajda tilawa, that when we recite, and there is a certain ayahs, about 15 ayahs in Quran, when they come, there is a sajda, we have to do it. It's a wajib on us. We have to do that sajda as soon as we can. We learned about that yesterday. We learned about 3 du'as yesterday. The first one was Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. The second one we learned was La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu minadh dhalimin. The third one was Ya muqallib al-qulubi sabbit qalbi ala dinika. Ya muqallib al-qulubi sabbit qalbi ala dinik. So these were the few things we learned yesterday, especially these three du'as we did yesterday. So I want and suggest everyone to please memorize them as much as you can. If you want to take a note of these, I can do it slowly, or you can always get back to your YouTube channel of ICOM. Please like and subscribe the channel. On this channel, you can always go back to videos and can refer what I'm mentioning here, these 3 du'as I just mentioned. We learned yesterday the fundamentals of Iman, the faith, the attributes of the people with Iman. We learned that they have a focus in their prayers. They do have a khushu and khudu in their prayers. We learned that they avoid the bad talks. They pay zakah. They keep themselves pure and clean and away from unlawful things, adultery and sex and all those bad things. They keep themselves away, but only when it's halal or to the married couples. We learned yesterday that they keep amana, they trust, and they keep their promises and their vows. They keep them all, and they perform the regular prayers with consistency. We learned that as well yesterday. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised them there will be a Jannah for them. Always will be a Jannah for these people forever and ever, inshallah. Further down, we talk about that Allah owns everything in this world and the skies, and everything we own actually is owned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He gave us as amana, if I can say that. He gave us as a responsibility, I can say that for sure. And it's a responsibility on you and on me that everything we owe, we have to be answerable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How and where we have spent the time, the energy, the money, the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala we had. So if we believe that everything is granted to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we need to make sure that we take care of Allah's creation and Allah's messages as well, inshallah. We also learned yesterday that 2.5% of paying zakah will never make us poor. It will actually make our mal more neat and clean, and will more pure our barakat in our home and family and everything, inshallah. We learned yesterday family matters, accusation on a women when they are not guilty on something. We learned about social matters. We learned about the parda and the importance of seeking permission before entering the house or before even entering the room next to my room, even my family members, a room of my parents, a room of my children. So we have to be very careful about those things. We need to learn those etiquettes, and Quran is teaching us those etiquettes. As we believe Quran makes us a good human being, that's something we believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We also learned that etiquettes to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam from us are more high and more important. We have to be more conscious when we talk about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We have to be very careful. We also learned yesterday that every sin is forgivable if it's not the greater sin. So that's something I believe we have. That's something eternal in the light we have always. So we need to make sure that we can remember these things. With this, inshallah, we are moving further in the Surah Furqan, and we'll continue. We'll be, inshallah, discussing today Surah Al-Shura. We'll be also touching a part of the Surah Al-Naml as well. We'll talk about these things. As soon as the Juzz starts, it talks about the kafir, the kuffar, the people those don't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They will see Qiyamah, and that will be very bad for them. Even today, they're asking that, show me angels, show me Allah, show me this, show me, do this for me, do that for me so I can believe you. But at the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling that, yeah, indeed, you will see everything you wanted to see, and that will be bad for you. And then they make fun of Quran, and they make fun of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It says, what is this joke that why Quran is not revealed at once? Is it something that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is creating by himself, na'uzubillah, or has been created by him and some of his friends and folks? Those are creating this whole Quran thing. Why Quran is not revealed once from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us that there is a hikmah, there is a wisdom behind this. As needed, where needed, when needed, and then it becomes a full book of Quran, inshallah. So slowly and gradually we can understand and learn it better. Ayahs 45 to 48 talks about even a shadow of a human being is a sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Apparently there's a body and there's a sign that follows us completely. That's another sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rain system is a sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This, when the rain goes on the land, then it becomes fertile land, and then it's a sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then there are the two waters. They come together from a river and from a sea. Sea's water you can't even drink easily. It's that saltish. And the land's water is not saltish, sweet for you. So that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made even two forms of water completely different. And even if they go together, they keep separate from each other. Subhanallah. So that's another amazing way of looking at it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is explaining us here. Ayah 54 talks about the creation of a life is based on the water. So we, me, you, too, everyone have been created with the base of the water. I know we created with soil and mud and clay, whatever you can call it, or dust, but the basic ingredient for that is water. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that after you have been created with the water, you have been given with a family chain, that me, son of someone, son of someone, or something like that. It's a family chain. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us in laws as well, the relationships as well. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that sky and sun and moon and day and night, and these are all of the signs that Allah's favorite people can see. And Allah's favorite people are who? Now we're going to learn a few more characteristics of those people. The people those do not walk on the earth with arrogance, but they do talk humbly and decently. With humbly and decently. Remember we learned yesterday in Ayah, that don't be arrogant when you're walking on the earth, that you're going to break the whole earth. So always walk nicely and humbly. So if you don't know how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was walking on the ground, let's try to find that in the detail in the Sharia, in the Siratul Nabi, and try to follow that method. Maybe that's the best for us, inshallah. The people, those are Allah's favorite people, they do sajdas and qiyams in the nights. Those are the people, those are favorites of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They always seek protection in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are balanced in their spendings. They're not senseless spenders. They're not extremely, and on the other side where they don't spend anything at all. They're very nicely balanced people. They spend very balanced way. They don't do shirk. They don't do any murder. They don't do any rape, no sexual relationships or no adultery they get involved into. Those are the favorite people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They don't offer any unlawful or wrong witness to some instance or some of the matters, which means they do not share any of the wrong things. Those are not true, and they don't tell those things. They don't verify. They don't share without verifying those things. They don't become witness where they're actually not a witness. If I've been shared a hadith with, I will not simply forward on my electronic communication blindly to everyone unless I will know or I will learn first that it's authenticated and true hadith. Just a small example. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that Allah's favorite people, they don't make themselves a witness of something that is not right. They avoid the gatherings of useless things, like sitting and doing nothing. Sitting and just having chit chat without the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, any gathering like that, any clubs, if I may want to say those words, like gentleman club or something, those places are completely not the place that Allah's favorite people go. It says that Allah's favorite people avoid those gatherings as well. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that those people are not like no summun bukmun fahum la yuqinun. Those people are not the ones that don't listen and don't see. They see and they understand and they listen the ahkam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the ayahs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's what Allah's favorite people are. They accept the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're not arrogant saying that, okay, my dad was doing something or my mom was doing something forever and ever, and I'll keep doing that always. No, they are open for advice and they're open for learning. Its simple example is that you are not always in grade 1. You always go to grade 2, 3, 4, 5, so on. What you have learned probably is the same thing what you learned in the first science level that you have learned in your life. We learn the same science now, but it gets what? More advanced. So this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, that Allah's favorite people, they do accept the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They learn Islam, yes, but first it was for them, they learn just Bismillah and basic du'as. And then they learn the next level. Then they start learning du'as, surahs, the prayer, and they keep learning more and more knowledge of the religion and Arabic language. And then as we're doing now, we're trying to learn more detailed Quran's knowledge, what is actually written in the Quran. And what is Quran is giving us a nasiha, a guidance that Quran is giving us. Let's listen to that. And once we listen, let's follow that and accept that guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to do. What is that again? They accept the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the last thing they do always is they ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the good wife and good kids, the blessed ones. And this is a gift of Quran that I want to share with you all today. So remember, this is another time of a Quran when we get, alhamdulillah, beautiful messages from Quran, and we try to share with you all. This is a message we say from Quran is Rabbana hablana min azwajina wa zurriyatina qurrata ayunin waj'alna lil muttaqina imama, which means, and those who say, our Lord, O Rabb, O Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, grant us from among our wives and offering comfort to our eyes, and make us an example of the righteous. So wives and offspring comfort. So what is this coming from? It's coming from what? From we asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that make our wives and our children the coolness of our eyes. When we say, how are you? I'm cool. So that coolness we're talking about, actually, what that cool mean is really here. So that coolness of eyes, when my eyes are not tired, I'm fresh, I'm active, I'm feeling full energetic. What happens to your eyes when you get tired? They get slow down. They get a little pink, reddish, whatever. And then you're feeling like, I cannot move my eyes well. When you're about to sleep, what happens? Your eyes get even more heavier because you're tired now. Your body needs a rest. So now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that you need the fresh eyes, and the fresh eyes is that you want the peace of mind. You want your cool eyes, and this will come from your parents, your wife and your children, which means they will become a coolness and comfort for you rather than a disturbance and a trouble or some struggle for you. So that's a dua we need to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّاتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ وَاجْعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. So let's memorize this dua as well. And this is where we enter, inshallah, into Surah Al-Shu'ara. And Shu'ara is a surah number 26 in Quran. Literally means the poets. It has 227 verses and 11 rukus. It's a Makkan surah, and the reference of Shu'ara is actually mentioned in ayah number 224 of this surah, almost at the end. What it talks about is, in general, there are about, I think there was like 7 main topics, if I can say from my own language. There are about 7 complete messages those that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us. Or we can say that there are 7 main topics of this surah. But it starts with the various prophets and their tribes, and it tells Allah's mercy on us. And it talks about that surah starts from the story of Musa alayhi salam and followed by the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam again. It tells us the story that when Musa alayhi salam have gone through with the Fir'aun and all those details, we learn about that. So what I was saying is that we discuss about pretty much Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shares us about 7 different topics in this surah. The first one is that Allah's address to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he ought not force himself to death with distress for the individual's disbelief. Some people, I don't know if it's out of negligence or out of shar, a bad from shaitan, I don't know what it is exactly, but some people I heard, they have been saying that Na'uzubillah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was going to do a suicide when this ayah was revealed. In this ayah from Surah Al-Shu'ara, which means it says that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was going to fuzz and himself to death because it was a distress situation for the people, the individuals of his tribe and his family and his neighbors and friends, those who were not accepting Islam. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addressed Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, you don't need to worry about it. You don't need to kill yourself. So when I was reading this ayah in Quran and trying to understand, to me, it sounds like that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you're taking so much stress on yourself that you're killing yourself. When we say that, right, don't take that much stress, you're killing yourself. Just let it go. So that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling, that let it go. Don't kill yourself into this worry, they will accept Islam or not. We will give them everything possible, but they will still not believe. So your job is to deliver the message and you're good. You don't need to worry about anything else. Hidayah is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The guidance is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So everything comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we follow or not follow, that's a different story now. All right. So when we learned about these things and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and there are so many things that now I've been doing with this research this month, especially I've been learning. There's so many things those have been distracted from the base of the message, the rule of the message of Quran. Hadiths have been interpreted wrong. Sahih Bukhari have been questioned. Even other sources of hadith have been questioned. And in the Quran, they interpret the way that is pretty much that make me fearful that if they cannot change Quran, alhamdulillah, but they're getting towards what? Towards the same thing that Yahud did. They changed the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala completely. And I'm fearful that that's maybe happening. That's a fitna coming down in our ways. That when I'm trying to say something, I found one reference and I know this was a good scholar, but still I need to verify twice, thrice. I try to spend a lot of time to do research before I can come speak here, because I know there's so many, Mr. Google is telling us so many wrong things that we cannot even verify completely correctly. So I open about 3 or 4 different references of Quran and the translation and try to make sure that I get the right translation that can make sense for me and for you all as well. So these fitnas are coming with the fact I know that fitnas are coming. So at this time, I think we need to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for guidance. And we need to think about وَاتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَاتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا. I repeat that. وَاتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Hold the rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala strongly together and don't be separated in tafarraqas and in the small groups, or don't get isolated. Be together, oneness. That's the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that will keep us safe from the fitna. And the stuff we learned before, that keeping keep learning the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by ourselves. We don't need to find the good scholars to answer us if we don't have time. We try to go and find scholars for two reasons. I'm sorry, I'm going to explain a bitter truth here, unfortunately. That's what I believe. For two main reasons. One, we are lazy enough that we're not trying to learn our religion, and we're finding an easy way that, oh, someone learned it, we can learn from them. Although I know that we cannot be specialized in everything, that is still there. But I'm talking about two main fame reasons that the people does that. So the second reason is that once we want to put the gun on shoulder of someone else, I know sood is haram, interest is haram, right? I know alcohol is haram. I know there's so many things those are clearly mentioned in Quran and Hadith that we know they're not right. We'll still go to Guidance Residential, we'll still go to United Islamic Financial, we'll still go to Bank of America, we'll do a comparisons, we'll make a story. Oh, we're not catching a fish on Saturday. We're just putting the net on the Saturday and we'll get the fish out on Sunday. And this is what our scholars are doing because they know what we're coming to them for. And they don't want to close their shops. Astaghfirullah. May Allah protect us all. They make these places sometimes. I feel that the shops are not as a place of a light or a knowledge or a wisdom. May Allah protect us all from all of these bad intentions and bad habits. Anyhow, moving along further, the second topic in this surah talks about the story of Musa alayhi salam, as I mentioned before. It talks about the Fir'aun and the redemption of the offspring of Israel. And then Musa and Fir'aun asked, who's your Rabbul Alameen? And Musa alayhi salam explained who's that. And then they became angry and they followed Musa and his companions. Musa and companions were running ahead and was trying to save themselves, across the water. With the asa, with the miracle, they were able to go through the water just fine. Water just opened a wall in between for them. And when Fir'aun came, the water just destroyed them, and they were finished. So this story is explained again in the details here. The third topic that we learn here is the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam and his contentions against the idol worshippers. So we know about those things. We discussed that story in the detail when he broke all the idols and what happened there. We know about that. That says that created me and guide me, Ya Rabbul Alameen. And it says further is that feeds me, that's my Allah, that's my Rabbul Alameen, that feeds me as well. And he gave me the drink. It talks about that. وَإِذَا مَرِضْتُ فَهُوَ يَشْفِينَ. When I'm sick, he gives me yashfin, the shifa, the health. Only Allah can do it. So now what I'm saying these things here is, please listen to them carefully. Allazi halakani fahuwa yahdin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created me and guides me. Huwa yat'amini yasqin, which means that he feeds me and gives me drink. Wa idha maridtu fahuwa yashfin. Wa idha maridtu fahuwa yashfin. Wa idha maridtu fahuwa yashfin. When I'm getting sick, he gives me shifa, health. He cures me as well. Wallazina yumituni summa yuhyin, which means he caused me to die and will bring me to life again. That's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will do as well. Remember, we'll be all dying and we'll be again raised up, we'll come to life again. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's my Rabb, that's my Allah that will do it. It says further, وَالَّذِي أَطْمَعُ أَنْ يَغْفِرْ لِي خَطِيئَتِي يَوْمَ الدِّينِ. And now I'm going to say him that, and I have that belief that I'm going to repeat from Quran, is that he will forgive my sins on the day of recompense. That will be the day when he will forgive me as well, inshallah. Rabbi habli hukman walhiqni bis-salihin. And now I'm asking a little too much from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because I know he's kind, he's loving, he's caring. And I'm asking, when you get something, a little bit from someone, you expect a second favor and big favor next time. And then you get the third favor, even bigger next time. That's what the natural human nature is. So now I know that he's giving me all these benefits, and I'm thinking the same sequence. Now I'm going to ask something else that I want. What I'm asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, I'm asking him, Rabbi habli hukman walhiqni bis-salihin. What does that mean? Oh Rabb, grant me authority and join me with the righteous people. Join me with them. And then waj'al li lisani sidqin fi. So it continues further, but grant me reputation of honor among later generations. So that's Ibrahim alayhi salam's dua. So we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us, guided us. He feeds us and give us water us. When we're sick, he cures us. He caused me death in life. He will forgive me on the day of judgment. He will grant me authority and will join me with the righteous people. He will grant me the reputation of honor among the later generations. That's what the dua was from Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, and we need to seek the same dua, and we need to remember these duas. And they are, if you wanted to know, they are from ayah number 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, and 84. So 78 to 84, I want to say they are like all these ayahs of the Surah Ash-Shura that we can keep learning and memorizing ourselves and asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for best of the best in this world and the hereafter. May Allah protect us all. Ameen. The fourth topic that I learned in this surah is the topic, the way the mushriks and their false deities will both toppled into the hellfire. The fifth topic talks about the accounts of the prophets. It says that Nuh alayhi salam and his nation were destroyed. His ummah was destroyed because of the big tufan, rain and all that. Like Lut alayhi salam and his those people left their wives and went to the wrong ways of doing the adultery, and they were destroyed. Hud alayhi salam, the Ad, people of Ad, they were disrespecting the souls. They were making fun of that. Salih alayhi salam, the Samud people, they were disobeying Prophet, and as well as Naqatullah, the camel. They did wrong to that camel, even if they were stopped to do that. Shuaib alayhi salam, they did injustice to the nation. They were an unjust nation. And the people were not the good people. They were not doing right things. They were not even doing a trade in the honest manner. They were cheat people. The sixth lesson we learned in this surah is the Quran is uncovered in Arabic language and can't by shaitan. So this is not a shaitan's message. This is a message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Arabic language. As it's neither to their greatest advantage nor in the capacity to do so as such. So if Shaitan and the people, those who were trying to create this one, they would not have been able to do it. Shaitan plunge on those corrupt delinquents who tune into gossip and are liars. So some people are saying that this is poetry. Quran is a poetry. They feel that if it's a creation of a human being, it came out of a dream or anything like that, if they think. It's a kind of a really strange accusation that they do on Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that is not right. And this is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling that this is not the correct mindset that they should be following. And this is a path of the shaitan if they're saying these things. In 192, Quran is Allah's message. And it's clearly in Arabic that Jibreel brought or sent to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's heart directly. So this is the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, came to the same ways as it came to other prophets. That's where the Surah Shura closes. Moving along to Surah Al-Naml. This means the Naml means itself is the ants. And now, subhanAllah, look at the examples of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's giving an example of Baqarah. He's giving you an example of ants. He's giving you an example of honeybee. We talk about it. And we'll learn more things inshallah later on. But he's talking about these small things and the big things at the same time. So I may be following some different thought process and can be impressed by something else. You may be different, and all of you may be different, those are listening today. So everyone have a different capacity, a different way of listening and following things. So what happened or what can happen is that anyone can follow Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's guidance by different examples, and they can listen and they can follow. So this example Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving is an example from the ants. And this surah has 7 rukus, and this surah have 93 verses. It's a Makkan surah, which means it was revealed in Makkah. And then when it starts with and talks about Hazrat Musa alayhi salam and his miracles. It talks about in detail about that. Then it talks about Hazrat Sulaiman alayhi salam, and then he was a next prophet of Dawud alayhi salam, and he was granted the speaking power, speaking to birds and human and jinns and different creations on the earth. He was talking to all of them. regularly, quite regular basis as well. So that was the power he was given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm sorry. So this is almost Hazrat Sulaiman alayhi salam have these all kind of different powers, and it's a very beautiful story that this surah talks about in the Surah Naml. What happened was there was a valley that Hazrat Sulaiman alayhi salam was passing by with his army, and this valley was belonged to ants. That's what they believe, that it was an ants valley, or there were a lot of ants living in that in the valley. And the queen ant, as soon as he saw that Hazrat Sulaiman alayhi salam and his army is coming, she said to his or her other ants that, hey, Sulaiman's army is coming, and they will be dangerous for us and will destroy us. Let's hide quickly into the underground. So let's hide underground quickly. But Sulaiman alayhi salam, because he had the power to listen, and he prayed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As soon as he listened, he said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'm not arrogant, I'm not going to destroy anything, but what I'm saying to you is, please make me thankful of all the blessings you have on me and on my parents. Guide me on the right path and enter me into your favorite people. Remember, this is what we're talking about yesterday, or day before yesterday as well. What we were saying that we need to think our surroundings, our own self, our body, everything we can look around, that gives us a sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when we get the sign, and then we get the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we need to start thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is exactly what Sulaiman alayhi salam did in this surah, in the ayah number 16 and onward. It says, what? Again, I'm going to repeat. Allah, please make me thankful of all the blessings you granted me and on my parents, and guide me to the right path, and enter me in your favorite people, that we learned before as well. And then the story of Queen of Saba continues here. There was a bird, we call it hudhud, maybe it was a pigeon or something. In Hazrat Sulaiman's army, there was that bird. So that bird was missing, and Hazrat Sulaiman was very angry on that bird, that where did it go without permission and something like that. And the bird came and said, I brought you a story. There is a beautiful area, and they're beautiful people. They're very rich, very settled, very well settled. But the problem is those people worship sun. So Sulaiman alayhi salam said, okay, fine, we're going to go after them. We are going to advise them or teach them about the Islam and Quran and the religion, not Quran, I apologize. We'll teach them the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the message was sent to the queen, and she was asked to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So she returned some of the gifts to Sulaiman alayhi salam and said, let's not fight, take the gifts and leave us alone, or something like that. And Sulaiman alayhi salam responded back by saying, the gifts that I already have, the stuff I already own, is more than what you sent me. So don't think that I'm going to take those gifts. You need to accept the message, and we need to talk about it. And then Sulaiman alayhi salam asked one of the peoples around that who can get me her crown, or the place where the king sits. I don't know what is it called exactly in English, but the thorn maybe. So who can get me that? So then one of the Allah's favorite people there, he said, I can do it right now. And that person was believed to be the one that have the knowledge of Asma'ul Husna, the Isme Azam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And before the eye was blinked of Sulaiman alayhi salam, he saw the thorn was right there with the Queen Saba. And then he said, is it yours? And she said, yes, it's mine. So this is a story in the more detail, but this talks about the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It talks about that even that big, huge power Sulaiman alayhi salam had, he was still thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even he was blessed with everything, he was still not arrogant, but he was humble. So all these things we learned here. And then once Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you everything, you don't trade anything small for the big message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you listen to Allah, you follow the message, you don't leave that message alone. That's something also we learn from this whole story. This surah, I believe in general, to me, have about 6 messages for us. And I will quickly wrap up before we can get into tomorrow's session. There will be again, inshallah, surah. This surah will continue there. This Queen Saba and all the stories we learned, please go home and do some more research and learn this a little bit more in detail. It's a lot more in that story that I've just mentioned to you. So the first thing we learned in this surah that we're talking about today with Surah Naml is that Tawheed was preached by many Israelites, prophets, as well as Ibrahim alayhi salam. So it's not a new message. We learned from the surah. It was the same message, same religion, because we know with the fact in the Dina, in the Lahil, Islam, that no doubt the religion to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is only Islam. So if you call yourself Yahud, you were Muslims. If you call yourself Christians, you were Muslims. If you call yourself anything else, you were all Muslims. You were all born on the nature, and nature is a religion of Islam. And this is the reality we know. And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, that Tawheed was preached by many Israelites, prophets, as well as the Ibrahim alayhi salam. The message number 2 we learn from this surah is that truly the Quran explains to the children of Israelites that most of what they differ about, and it is a guidance and grace for those who believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is the guidance again? The Quran, the book. And Allah has no equal as a creator. He's the only one that can create. All those who associate other with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are guilty of the shirk. So there's a clear rule defined in this surah what exactly shirk is if you feel there are 2 or more gods. And Nauzubillah, I was reading some of more things and listening a few more things as well, and I found that shirk is not just we have 2 idols to worship. Shirk is not just that we ask someone else for help and believing that he can help me other than God. Shirk is that once we deny Allah's message and we do go on the other means. For example, if there is something being haram in Islam, making very simple, let's say it's a meat of a pig, khinzir. Okay, so that's made haram. If Nauzubillah, may Allah protect me always, if I eat that and I say that, oh, it's just a meat, what if I can eat that? And I can go and ask scholars and can find explanations and stuff like that, and what else not. But because it crossed the limit of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I found other ways of going this route, that's also considered kind of a shirk as well. That because now I am deviating from the rules of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I'm following what? Nafs of myself. Nafs is what? My internal desires. So I'm following my internal desires and making my desires as a second god of mine that's controlling me, and I'm following that. Some scholars say that this is also a form of a shirk. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us all from that. And then the 4th message we learn from this surah is that the earthly knowledge, the knowledge of the earth, is nothing in compared to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge and the Quran itself. Only those with open ears and eyes will turn to God, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we know that this is a true message, that we have to go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only because of this. And then it says further is that the disbelievers of the message of Allah will have no hope on the day of judgment. Remember yesterday we learned about the very important topic of Shifa'a. Do you remember that? Shifa'a is what? From a place is called what? Muqam Mahmud. We talked about that yesterday, right? So that Muqam Mahmud, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam will be sitting there and he will be saying, my ummat, my ummah, my ummah. He will be calling again and again and again. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will listen to him and says, okay, fine, I am listening to you, Ya Rasulullah, and I will forgive your nation, and I'll forgive the Muslims so they can be in the Jannah with you as well. So that's something we learned from today's discussion as well, that it's the same thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling, that disbelievers of the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will have no hope on the day of judgment, but Muslims will still have some hope, inshallah. And inshallah we'll be all forgiven because we're trying to do our level best of learning the religion and following the religion, inshallah. This effort that we're doing, sitting together here, learning the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is another sign of that. The last message we learned from this surah, before I will get into tomorrow's session tomorrow, but for today's discussion purposes, the revelation is a clear warning. All humanity must turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without delay. That's another message we learned from this surah, that all of us need to return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as soon as we can without any further delay. Because remember, we learned yesterday that it will be all sudden, the Qiyamah. It will not even let us blink our eye. We'll be surprised and shocked. And remember, the moms will not be able to feed their children, and the people will be like completely lost and out of their minds. So Qiyamah will be like that when it will come and it will arrive. If our Qiyamah will be that, and that day will have to come, and this will come, it's a clear warning. We know with the fact it's a clear warning. And all humanity, all of us, including Muslims and non-Muslims, they have to return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as soon as possible. And now I believe the Qiyamah are in two forms. That's my own theory, by the way. And I could be completely wrong. The Qiyamah is in two forms. One is the Qiyamah, the day of judgment. We know when everything will be destroyed, sun will become down here. Everyone will be like Al-Qari'ah, Mal-Qari'ah, wa ma adraka Mal-Qari'ah. We know the whole surah and how it's going to happen, right? Everything will be like just nothing. And the second Qiyamah that I believe for myself is, or what someone is, that as soon as they're going to die, that will be the Qiyamah for them. That will be the end of the world for them. That will be their Qiyamah. That now their life is over, and now they're going to see the life of Barzakh, the Qabr, and the hereafter. And they're going to see the sequences of what they have done, and their life will be over. So with this, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He makes us amongst the people, those are Salihin and Shuhada and the Prophets. May Allah protect us all and make us amongst all of those people. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that the time of our life, when it will be finishing, we may be saying La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, and as a last words, as a last breath. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us on the right path always, and let the follow religion of Islam and the guidance of Islam that will make us a good human being, good civilized human being, and following the right religion. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us all on the right path with the good deeds always, and to help each other and stay together as a community, inshallah. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all of us to become a good community and a strong community that can just not help Muslims, but can help other communities as well. That's the spirit of the Ramadan we learned, inshallah. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار رب اجعلني مقيم الصلاة من ذريتي ربنا وتقبل دعاء ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد رب اجعلني مقيم الصلاة من ذريتي ربنا وتقبل دعاء برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. See you tomorrow, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.